the truth. It's the truth. It's the truth kind of love. It's the truth. It's the truth. It's the true kind of love.
We reach to the episode that centers around Steven thinking about how he should have made better decisions when it comes to befriending a gem who is one of his enemies in the past. And if I'm gonna be real with you, the fact that this is the first time we get to see Ruby and Aquamarine since they were absent from Season 5, mainly earlier in that season, I really feel like that they were a lot more smarter in this, considering that despite not getting along up until towards the end of the episode, they clearly are incapable of improving themselves, and most likely one of the reasons onto why I have them as an antagonist is in my Steven Universe Quake of the Creek crossover Steven Universe of the Creek. In Bluebird, after seeing multiple pranks that were not severe towards Steven, he goes to his house to meet Bluebird, who he recognizes a fusion of Aquamarine and Ruby, and this makes him questioned on how Bluebird has changed since that he invited multiple gems all over the universe in order to change, especially when they were enemies. Not to mention that this episode took ideas from Room for Ruby when it comes to Steven being in Lapis's position. I really feel like that this episode should have been bad, but after rewatching it, it really gave me the impression that Steven is just trying to give people a chance, considering that he was willing to give Jasper a chance by joining Little Homeschool, but unfortunately it didn't work out, judging of how she wants no part of it. So when seeing this episode when it comes to Bluebird, I really feel like that for how Aquamarine and Ruby are the only characters who aren't gonna side with Steven no matter what, I doubt they would even be perfect candidates to be part of Little Homeschool, because judging of how that they're taking control of the situation by being nice towards other people, and this leads to them taking Greg by destroying him, all the while trying to find different ways to destroy Steven by destroying his house. It really gave me the impression that no matter what they do, if they have an alternative, they would just drop it completely and just go back to the status quo. When it comes to the decisions that Steven made, it's gonna be difficult for him to actually get into every single character, considering that this is the same character who cannot stand Kevin, and the fact that Kevin doesn't appear in the epilogue, all the while that he had a grudge towards Ruby when it comes to the bubble incident from the end of Season 3, all the while the trial episode. I'm really getting the impression that with him trying to instantly see the good in people is mostly difficult if it's not 100%. And if Steven is 95% of accepting people's forgiveness, then I'm pretty sure that the 5% would be on Kevin, Ruby, and Aquamarine. Even though that this is the character that is gonna be in a state of not knowing what to do in the following episodes when it comes to the decisions that he needs to accept from other characters, in this, when it comes to his experiences with Bluebird, to be real, do you really think that you will probably be in the same position as him, only to think about the person in particular being a little odd to you? Because Steven's experiences with Ruby and Aquamarine are little in comparison to his experiences with Jasper and the other characters that he encountered, including the diamonds that he had more experiences with and more screen time to interact with. So I really feel like that the decision on having Ruby and Aquamarine teaming together into a fusion to take down Steven is honestly bound to happen, since that the first time I watched this episode, I was honestly upset that they just went away to the point that they didn't become the next White Diamond, as in, even though that their deeds aren't as bad in comparison to White Diamond, but whenever I think about White Diamond in this episode, it really makes me feel like that Steven will probably pick someone who could have been the next White Diamond when it comes to his own forgiveness and point of view. But since this episode was out during the time where people mostly give up on the franchise, and when this episode is an indicator on how the characters just don't change or improved, mainly Aquamarine and Ruby, it's mostly the fault of the production and mostly the hiatuses themselves. Like, the hiatus of Future only happened once when it comes to December 2019 to March 2020, where there was no episodes in between, mainly January and February. And I'm bringing this up because people just given up on the characters when it comes to Steven and the other characters, which is where the criticisms took off in the first place. And for someone who actually didn't win through the hiatuses, I still have problems with these episodes, but not on the same levels as the people in the fan base back at the time when these episodes were airing. When I look at this episode now, when it comes to Aquamarine and Ruby working together, and they actually have something in common by not standing Steven, which causes them to fuse into Bluebird, it sums up a lot onto how Bluebird became a thing, and when it comes to their teamwork, with them being nice in front of multiple people, it's honestly the best attribute when it comes to working an alliance against Steven. And the fact that they can't be able to fuse with them, not arguing with each other, believe me, when arguing is the solution, it's one of the examples onto why I didn't enjoy Camp Lazlo or the one episode from season 1 from The Amazing World of Gumball, because it just doesn't make any sense, and it's honestly idiotic, even if it's supposed to be idiotic for the sake of the characters and the setting of the episode from that show. But when it comes to this episode, it makes sense now, to the point that I accept this episode's factors execution more than the other execution that tackles this factor. Granted, I understand that The Amazing World of Gumball and Camp Lazlo, both are Cartoon Network shows by the way, aren't meant to be taken seriously, while this show is. But whenever I look at it, I just can't be able to get along with the type of humor, because I really did not like the humor in Camp Lazlo and The Amazing World of Gumball, and whenever I look at this episode's execution of the factor, I can only accept it if the characters aren't dumbed down, or the way they are when it comes to the Robinsons from The Amazing World of Gumball. I'm really having a difficult time on taking those characters seriously even to this day. Witnessing Aquamarine and Ruby leaving after they got defeated by Alexandrite, honestly, I can really see what they're going for, considering that not every single person would like Steven, and this also gave me inspiration of Steven Universe of the Creek, because if we do get a continuation from this show, from this series at least, when it comes to having the characters return, I'm pretty sure that Aquamarine and Ruby will return in some other capacity. But before we wrap up this review, let's go talk about Greg cutting his hair after almost getting harmed by Aquamarine and Ruby. For him loving that Steven can believe everyone can change, but not everyone will, sums up that this ending was a really good ending where he takes his hair into the ocean as it drifts away. Honestly, it's cheesy, but at the same time, judging of how Greg had long hair for such a long time, and he's not gonna be able to have it back we miss our Hale deeply when it's not coming back, unless if you're Greg's age. With that being said, I enjoyed this episode and it improved a lot more as time went by, so if you rewatch the whole series like I do, then look into this episode in a better perspective than your old perspective. I'm just saying that these episodes, including future, have changed over time. I'm giving this episode 9 out of 10.